Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Bel Air. Why? Why did they make a serious drama version of Fresh Prince of Bel Air? You know, nothing is sacred and, things are just going to keep rotating, so let's think about it for what it is. This is a new drama from Peacock that focuses on a young Will Smith who winds up getting involved in shooting a gun in Philadelphia, gets arrested, but his uncle, who is running for political office, Uncle Phil, bails him out, brings him to LA, to Bel Air, and tries to give him a new place to find some footing away from the dangers in Philadelphia, and they wind up building more of a connection as a family. And this first season obviously is dealing with a lot of Will's adjustments to Bel Air, his interactions with his cousins, with his uncle and aunt, who everybody gets their own arcs in this series. You have Jeffrey, you have Jazz, you have Lisa, and everyone in between. And this, like I said, is a serious drama. It deals a lot of things, because, you have Will, who was involved in a shooting. That's intense. This isn't getting roughed up on the basketball courts. You have Aunt Viv, who is trying to balance supporting her husband, but wanting to be an artist, and having this man from her past really trying to drum up that feeling. Jeffrey is like the fixer of the family. Very different, darker perspective. Carlton is a complete and utter asshole who's a drug addict and filled with anxiety and all kinds of things, and honestly, I hated him so much in this series, and obviously gets better, but still it's hard to connect with. You have Hillary, who is trying to be an influencer and finding her own way, but being pressured into sexualizing herself. You have Ashley, who is falling for a young woman that's a friend of hers and trying to process those feelings. You have Lisa, whose dad is running against Uncle Phil, but she's used to date Carlton, is wanting to date Will now. And you have Jazz, who's definitely interested in Hillary, and Uncle Phil, who has his whole political career in front of him. And balancing all of these different characters and all their different stories, not everything feels as invested or important or engaging, but it does try to take on some timely things and having new approaches to these characters. It can get a little melodramatic and a little obnoxious. It does get very intense, though, at times, too, especially towards the last episode of the season, where it's Will's seeking out his father. I'm not going to spoil who plays his dad. I want to leave that as a surprise for you. But this is a very, very strong cast, because Jabari Banks is great as well. Cassandra Freeman as Aunt Viv. Olly Sholotan, who is Carlton. Coco Jones is Hillary. Akira Akbar is Ashley. Simone Joy Jones as Lisa. Adrian Holmes as Uncle Phil, who I feel is one of the big standouts of this series. I really appreciate how much you really connect with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv and their journeys, and I appreciated that. I do feel some of the commentary is a bit on the nose, not super fresh or interesting in that way, but there's also moments where it's this show's trying to balance way too many moving pieces, and I feel every episode, everybody has to be featured in some shape or form, but it has impactful commentary. Will's arc is impressive, going from who he was to connecting with Bel Air and trying to confront his father and all these big emotional elements. There's definitely added weight to this series that is definitely different than the original series, which is much more of a comedy, but it did have some emotional moments. Don't get me wrong. This, though, is really leaning into them. There's these powerful moments between characters quite a bit, and it does take that approach. I just don't feel like this is anywhere near the original series in terms of charm and engagement and stuff like that, but I do feel it is a solid kind of crime family story, trying to see this young man make it out in Bel Air with his aunt, uncle, and his cousins, and trying to find a new life. And I do feel like this film deals with certain themes in a meaningful and poignant way, and generally I did have some enjoyment watching this series over on Peacock. But those are my thoughts on Bel Air. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.